Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Barney White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. For the next couple of hours, we're going to, I'm going to take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, which is 888-227-2546. Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and I will get to you as quickly as I can. So there's no dumb car question except the one that you don't ask. So if you have a vehicle in a shop, or your vehicle needs to go to the shop, or it's got some strange noise or smell or whatever, I can more than likely help you, not necessarily fix that problem, but I can help you know which question to ask and how to talk to your local service provider, whether it's a new car dealership or an independent store as mine, or a chain store. You know, Cars has four wheels, and at least most of them do. Some of them have even more than that. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you need auto parts, but you can't get to the store just yet, you head on over to O'ReillyAuto.com. You can buy parts online and then pick them up at any of the 5,000 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. And there's no shipping costs, easy returns, and it's convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way for the parts you need at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better parts, better prices every day. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. At our car clinic service shop, our customers depend on our team to solve their car repair problems. They also bring their vehicles to us for routine maintenance services that, with newer cars, sustain their factory warranties. So whether our job is replacing a leaking radiator, installing new brakes, or performing a simple wheel alignment, the parts we use must meet OEM specs. That's why our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts employees are professionals. They know car parts, and they understand our service team's got to have the right part first time, every time. If you're a car owner, you want your car fixed right with quality parts and by service professionals. Trained technicians using the latest technologies, installing parts that fit. O'Reilly Auto Parts for sure. Whatever you drive, find a shop you like, have them inspect your vehicle twice a year, and ask for O'Reilly Auto Parts. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Today's question: what role does the radiator pressure cap play? The pressure cap regulates internal pressure in the system using two valves, a pressor and a depressor. The pressure cap controls the release of hot coolant into the recovery tank as the coolant expands from the heat, all the while maintaining pressure that is critical to preventing overheating. Turn the engine off, the antifreeze cools down, causing a vacuum in the system as the internal pressure decreases. This decrease in pressure could cause hoses to collapse and coolant levels to be incorrect. This expansion and contraction of coolant in and out of the recovery tank helps to maintain proper coolant levels. This is why it's critical to regularly inspect and replace when necessary your radiator pressure cap. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and pressure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. For more, go to motorradusa.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So, a little news from in-house. When I sit down and put on the microphone and the headset, then I run the cord over my left shoulder, and Jonathan Sloan, who is always eager to help, comes in and we take gaff tape. I don't know if you've never been in radio or television, you probably don't know what gaff tape is, but it's one of the stickiest, Fabio, wouldn't you say? I mean, that stuff holds everything.
Yeah.
And we have 2-inch and we have 3-inch wide. However, there are some shirts like the one I have on this morning, and for all of you at Watch Bobby Live, welcome. And you know, you can't tell it's a black shirt with a Car Clinic logo, but it's made out of a, gosh, it's not cotton material, but it's a much lighter material. Breathes, it's cooler. And here in the tropics, that would be Pensacola, Florida. The humidity, you know, the temperature is one thing, 80, 90, and we can live with that. But when you walk out of your house and you feel like you've been mugged, or you are being mugged, in the length of time that it takes from you getting in your car to the air conditioner getting fired up, the good news for me there is that my car is parked inside a garage, so it's easier to cool a car that's already you know, not hot soaked by the sun than of course it is otherwise. And I'll tell you, folks, anyway, where I'm going with that is that we taped the shirt 3 or 4 times, and finally Jonathan had to take a little C-clamp clip, and the good news is he didn't get my skin, so I'm in good shape this morning. Anyway, what we'll do, Hannah will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, and we'll talk cars. And you don't have to, you know, as I said, the only dumb car question is one you don't ask. So if you got just always want to know something about a car, or maybe, as I said, you have a car that's needs some work on it and you need guidance there, then just consider me your personal car consultant, and we'll take off. I am going to share with you a little bit later in the program about 5G service, and AT&T has named more cities that they will implement 5G networks this year. So it's going to be interesting to see, and we've all had this dreaded, like, well, whether you have a PC or a Mac, as I have, when you hit the wheel and you got that dreaded wheel, it just spins around. It's like, even if it's only 5 seconds, it's like, what is wrong with this? Because we're like a society these days, got to have it now. We're what is known as, or the society we live in. I don't know that we are, because it's all age related, to so to speak, but we are a 6-second society. So we want to know what we want to know and answer our questions, and we want things to happen in 6 seconds. And about the only thing that I know that is fast enough always, and faster always than we expect, is a catapult off of a carrier. And yes, I had the opportunity to ride in a C3 along with 11 other people. It was a 12-pack. Well, it wasn't full. There were about eight of us on that plane, facing backwards, a little miniature cargo plane, as I remember. And I think it was a C3. You know, those of you in the military, if it was a C-3A, you know, you can feel free to correct me. 888 Car Clinic is really easy to do. I stand easily corrected, except for some car things. Okay, let's take a call from Phil, and then we're going to go back to some other information about the 5G, and I want to, you know, your input as to what you really think and how that will help us. And then there's some new technology that GM, and we're going to have a Rick Ruskin. He's been with me before, by the way, not in the house, but on the phone. And so Fabio's going to reach out to him. Fabio, you want to, maybe we'll do that next hour, okay? Okay, all right, great. So let's go to Phil. Phil, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Yes, good morning. I would like you to settle a debate between two friends who are both professed car experts.
Okay, sure.
Which car am I safer in an accident? A full-size Chevy Impala with its weight and mass, or a Subaru Legacy with all of the state-of-the-art safety features?
Well, you'd be hard-pressed. Number one, the easy way to answer that, and the political way, which I'm not going to take, would be to look at the ratings. Are they both 5-star passenger and 5-star driver and passenger side and driver side?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then theoretically, you can't choose a winner because you can't prove, and that's what that's what the experts are trying to do, is to prove which one withstands the most impact. And if they're both rated the same, it would be like buying a gallon of gas that has been measured, and it's a gallon of gas. It may not be the same octane, or purity or whatever, but it's a gallon of liquid gas. So you can't say, well, this gallon of gas is more than this gallon of gas. And in the case of the two experts, neither one is incorrect, but neither one is correct to the end that, my Subaru's better than your Chevrolet. Now there's a matter of opinion, and I think I would have to go with, I don't know where you are, but before you say, I think I would have to and be more comfortable in the Subaru, but only because they have a great marketing and because the Subaru's structure, and I owned one years ago, I found it amazing, and I really like to use that word, scratch that amazing word. I found it impressive that the structure of that vehicle and the way that Subaru coated the brake lines with Teflon. It was a green Teflon coating, and ran those brake lines inside the floorboard of this unibody, so there's not much room on the outside unless you strap the lines to the underside of the car, which is what they do. But this one had lines running through the floorboard with grommets and rubber grommets for inlet and outlet through the bulkhead. But I was never so impressed, and the reason, and I bought a brand new Subaru station wagon, and the reason that I know this is I took it apart to put a special sound system in it with automatic controls, a little push button, which was at the time state of the art, and I ended up having to take the seats out and the carpet out, and I only found one screw out of place. Well, it wasn't out of place, an extra screw, which was impressive. Normally you find a half a dozen of those things when you take cars apart, that when they're assembling, But the bottom line, I don't see, in my opinion, if a 5 is a 5 by the same rating by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, So Phil, that probably doesn't help. What's your take? Or do you?
My
are you part of that?
take is this: if you had a head-on crash between the Impala and the Subaru, the Impala would probably come out the winner. But that's not a normal type of accident that you would expect to happen.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And there's something else. And you're based that on what? The weight of the vehicle?
Yes.
Well, then let me share this with you, because this throws another confound in it. A smart car has a 5-star side rating or 5-star front rating. I forget now. But the smart car, years ago, and I've had one since Penske first brought them in 2008, and still have that vehicle. That's my wife's daily driver, is a smart car. And so the smart car, they ran 70 miles per hour into a concrete barrier. Those barriers that separate the highway, and they're tapered at the bottom. And
yeah, I believe they're called parapets.
Parapets. Good. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So they had the parapet at not a 90 degree, but at a slight maybe 75 degrees, so that when the car hit it head on, it would tend to shear off one way or the other. They ran a smart car 70 miles per hour, of course with no driver, and this is back in the early 07s and 6s and what have you, in Europe, and the passenger's door still opened, the driver's door was still intact, and the A-pillar on the driver's side, which is where the impact initiated, because that part of the concrete barrier was closer to the car, and the car still survived, and other than some broken parts and what have you, it was still structurally. I said all that to say this: the lighter the vehicle, then the advantage the vehicle has, and to that end, let's go way light and look at a top fuel dragster. And you know, Phil, another minute on this, because this is it's interesting. A top fuel dragster at 300 miles an hour, would you want to be in it and crash? Well, believe it or not, it's pretty safe, and I'll tell you how when I come back. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of Agm batteries. Joe touched on why many of today's vehicles are better suited for this technology. Let's hear from Joe.
Attributes that make your vehicle a good candidate for an Agm battery really depend on the electrical demands that are placed on the battery within your vehicle, as well as potentially the vehicle application, such as start-stop. Most vehicles manufactured in recent years actually contain more than 150 electrical accessories, including backup cameras, navigation systems, heated seats, even power windows, which are part of our everyday lives. Our Agm batteries are manufactured to meet these electrical demands. Additionally, if you have something in your car such as start-stop technology, you need an Agm battery to help ensure you are effectively powering your vehicle during this stop event.
Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive Agm batteries, which are precision engineered to meet the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com. A 2000 Chrysler Concorde with a 2.7 V6 recently came into the shop. The owner was having issues with low oil pressure and a warning light. After testing and inspection, we found sludge in the engine. The owner was partly to blame, as he had not changed the oil off it enough. But sludge buildup is a common problem in this engine. Do you overhaul this old engine in this old car? Well, maybe, but Berryman Engine Oil Flush may help. Berryman Engine Oil Flush quickly and safely removes harmful sludge and other deposits in the crankcase of all gasoline and diesel engines without using aggressive solvents. Berryman frees sticky valves and lifters for quieter operation, opens restricted oil passages that improve overall oil circulation. Berryman's Engine Oil Flush is compatible with all single-grade and multi-grade conventional and synthetic gasoline and diesel engine oils. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information and to check out Berryman Engine Oil Flush. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Phil is on the phone with us, and before the break we were talking about safety. And Phil, so we'll set the stage for those who maybe just tuned in. We have two cars that rate equally, that measure a 5-star rating, and one's a Chevrolet Impala and the other is a Subaru. And so two so-called experts, or two experts, disagree on which one that they would rather be in, saying that the heavier car, which I presume from your input was the Chevrolet Impala, would, on a head-on collision, would live longer or be safer. The passengers in that car would be safer than the ones in the Subaru. So here's my take on inertia and weight to speed crash ratio, or as it relates. A top fuel dragster or any dragster, rear engine dragster, has the driver in a framed cockpit that is made for that driver. The seat is an aluminum panel. Now they've got a little bit of padding there, obviously, but the seat and the strap-in harness safety belts strap that person very tightly, and there's no room. I mean, you can barely move his shoulders around. He can move his arms, and that's about all he needs to do is move his arms to pull the chute and to steer it, if those things are steerable. I think they just kind of point and aim, because they run, the quarter mile in 4.5 seconds and 300 plus miles per hour. So I said all that. When those machines crash, the driver is in a cocoon, and the engine, as a rule, will shear off. Even the back of the car could shear off, the front of the car could shear off, and absorb a lot of the impact. And this is very true for a Formula One car, an Indy type car. That mass, which is only like 1,500 or 1,600 pounds to start, is reduced to, say, 300 pounds. And the impact of a 300-pound tends to, especially when you have the big rubber tires that obviously would blow out, but still, nonetheless, the impact that is absorbed from the balloon tires blowing out is a plus. And so rarely have we seen race drivers. I mean, think of the cars that you've seen crash, horrific crashes, tumbling and crashing and going through the air, and the NASCAR cars in Daytona, at the International Daytona Speedway. I mean, they put those fences high and leaning in, and they have, you've seen that. And so those guys walk away from those 200-mile-an-hour crashes unscathed and ready to drive. They're Monday morning, I'm sure they're sore, but my gosh, think about it. So it's a known fact that for all these years that we know of racing, which is before I was born, the racetrack and the designs of the structures of the roll bars and cages migrates its way directly into the passenger cars that we drive. And to that end, both your Subaru and your Chevrolet Impala have crumple zones. And a lot of folks, that's an old term. In fact, I haven't used that term in probably 10 years. But if you'll open the hood, Phil, of any car, any new car, and I'm talking 2000 and up, so in the last 20 years almost, you will look at the fender well, and you'll see that it's round for the wheel well. That's the part of the inside, and you'll see that there are little dips in it, little waves, and those dips are structurally there to absorb, like an accordion, as the impact goes in, so that by the time the impact gets to the passengers, it's reduced significantly. And so and to that end, I want to go back to the smart car, because my wife drives one. The reason that the smart car has such a great rating and is a safe car, and just for your information, in her smart car, and I got this picture offline, I don't know, 10 years ago, and I laminated it, and I carry 2 pictures of a smart without its clothes on, with all of the framework and all the doors and everything off, just the bare bones cockpit, and there's a tritium roll cage, like NASCAR cell that the drivers are in. And so when you look at a smart car, you'll see whether it's yellow, which is ours, or red or green or black or white. The tritium roll cage is that gray surround that is a cocoon for the drivers, and those cars are 100 times probably safer, and I don't know what you could put a number on it, than people think. And the dash is an aluminum structure cage for side impact. And then also, very interestingly, and I hope folks that you're interested in this, because it's safety related, and I didn't know that fact, because the the smart car has such a short wheelbase, it's virtually impossible to get have a side impact front bumper of another car that just hones in on the door, because the front of a car is wider than the door and will also hit the front suspension in the door or the rear suspension in the door. And of course, to that end, the left front tire and wheel is directly under your left front foot as you're driving the car, because that's where the wheel well is, and that tire acts as an airbag and it has airbags, but it acts as an airbag for your legs. And so when you take into consideration the construction, and you take into consideration that the two cars you're talking about, which is the Subaru and the Chevrolet, those vehicles are designed on computer and then built and then tested. So to me, the lighter car, especially because I think that both these gentlemen are gagging at gnats, because how much lighter is a Subaru than a Chevrolet Impala? Chevrolet's not known to be a heavy, that's an intermediate sized car anyway. So let me ask you that question. Do you know what the differential of the weight is?
I can look it up. I don't have it in my head, but I have some stats from Consumer Reports.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting.
I can probably get you that within the next few minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. That would be interesting to see, because if we're talking, and I'll bet you 250 pounds differential is going to be it. And to that end, now let's move way to the other side. The car that I drive is an extended wheelbase 2013 Jaguar that's made out of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And it weighs 275 pounds more. I think it's 175, but I'm going to play it safe. 275 pounds more, and it's a big, long, nice car with leathers and wood and what have you, but it only weighs 250 pounds more than a Mustang GTA. And the reason, because my car's made of aluminum, so it's lighter, and it's glued together and riveted together, and so as a result, structurally, it's very, Audis are aluminum, Mercedes has used aluminum hoods, and they're using aluminum panels. So when you look at all of the new technology and you really start putting measurements on it and the impactability, it's just, I don't know, you'd be hard pressed to say, I want to be in this car when it happens, or I want to be in that. I'd rather be in this car or that car. Now, granted, if you're driving a Tahoe and I'm in the smart car, you got a whale of an advantage over me, because you've got a 5,000 pound to a 1,900 pound. But if I'm in a crash in the smart car, I'll be in a rolling ball in a cocoon, and my shoulder belt's going to bruise me, which what seat belts do, all those sorts of things. But I got to tell you, you'd be hard pressed to prove to me that one is better than the other, because I just don't believe that there's enough weight differential to say that. And to that end, they both rate a 5-star. So if one's safer than the other one, then one should be a 5+. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I'm just checking here what the weight difference is.
Well, here's what I'll do. You get some more facts. We've got another hour and a half. We got 2 hours. Get some more facts and call back, and maybe, let's see, we have a Subaru, we have a Chevrolet Impala. They're both 5 and now understand the rating. When you look, please know the information you give has to be 5 and 5 and 5 and 5, front and side impact, because otherwise we're not comparing apples to apples. Granted?
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed,
all right.
on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you check that, and you can call us back. And in the meantime, we got a call from California and another call from KREI in Missouri. So I'll take David's call now, and Phil, feel free to give us a call back. Okay.
I will do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really interesting, folks. To not to spend a whole show on safety, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have. I wish I had like a tire maybe I'll reach out to a tire, maybe Goodyear. I just picked that brand. So a Goodyear tire. I was on their site this week. Is the reason that came to mind. Maybe we'll have someone from Goodyear come in and talk about tire and tire construction, because you think, well, tire's a rubber tire and maybe it has some steel cord in it. Well, there's a lot more to a tire. Siping. You know what siping? Fabio, now you're not a car guy, I know, so I don't want to put you on the spot here, but you know what siping is?
I do not.
You know what a tread block is? Okay, well, you know what a slick tire is, racing slick? Yeah. Okay, so a racing slick has more contact with the road, or the track, but with the road, that's why they use them to race, right? So what do they use when they have wet tires? They have tread. And so, well, why would they do that? Because the tread channels the water, the grooves between the treads channel the water and excavate the water so that the tire doesn't hydroplane, doesn't ride on top of the water. You take an 1/8-inch film of water with a slick tire and you have no control. I mean, in any kind of an emergency situation, obviously. So siping is where they take the tread and they cut it into blocks. So now you've got a tread, say 5 treads. Now you've got a channel groove in between those blocks. So now you've got a 1-inch by, let's say, 2-inch long, or 1 by 1 square block. And when I come back, I'll tell you what they do called siping on those individual blocks and why. Don't go away. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries. Joe talked about the many different factors that can affect battery performance. Also touched on what differentiates Johnson Controls AGM batteries from other manufacturers. Let's hear from Joe.
There are a variety of factors that influence the performance of a battery, including your driving style, driving environment, and distance, as well as climate. Basic habits that we may not think about actually have a substantial impact on your battery. So, for example, making frequent stops while running errands, driving in rush hour traffic, additionally driving on rough roads, or even driving aggressively with fast accelerations and hard braking, those all put wear on your battery. With its compressed cell design and glass mat separators, our AGM battery is precision engineered with a more robust design to excel in these conditions.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com. That's autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes. Folks, with all my years in automotive service and repair, and hosting Bobby Likis Car Clinic answering your car questions, I know a thing or two about cars. But there's one item that I need help with: tires. Which brand offers the best fitting tire? What about sizing up? Which rubber compound best fits my need? The choices are endless. So I decided to try Goodyear.com. I browsed the Goodyear site and found information. I saw 4 categories: all season, all terrain, winter tires, and sport performance tires. I chose 2 options, all season and sport. Then, right there on Goodyear's site, I compared both types to determine which one best suited my daily driving needs. And so when you're searching for your next set of tires, check out Goodyear.com. It's easy. Just click the Tires tab and then browse. That's Goodyear.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546, and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. We have a question from our chat room at Watch Bobby Live, which every Saturday from 10 till noon you can tune in to our YouTube channel, which is Watch Bobby Live. So Sandra says, what is the best brand of battery for my 2016 Toyota Corolla, or should I get an OEM at the dealer? Of course, the batteries, I prefer aftermarket batteries, and there's a specific reason for that, and it makes a lot of sense. When OEMs buy a battery, so first I'll answer that. When OEMs now they don't buy a battery, they buy thousands of batteries. And as a result, they're looking at the cost of the batch of the 10,000 or the 100,000 batteries, because that's all figured into the cost of the assembling of that vehicle, like all the parts are. So the deal that they get from a battery supplier and the price that OEMs get, you or I, even I'm in the business, we never see that low of a cost, and rightfully so, because they're buying in mass. But when you buy a battery aftermarket, the price that you pay definitely has to do with the quality you buy. You do get what you pay for, and you've heard us talk about the Agm batteries, which are the best. So what I would suggest for Sandra to do is to go to autobatteries.com. That's autobatteries.com, and check out the construction of an Agm battery, because indeed, if you want to increase the performance, and I say increase the performance, you say, well, wait a minute, now, 12 volts is 12 volts, but the life of the battery, the construction of the battery will dictate how long that battery lasts, because batteries suffer from heat and vibration. That's the two factors that kill batteries. And to that end, the OEMs actually wrap batteries for cold weather and for hot weather. In severe cases, in Alaska, and I'm sure in Canada, and even in the northern U.S., the batteries have heaters, just like your oil has heaters and block heaters. So a battery has a heater as well. But in the southern hemisphere down here, I mean in the southern states rather, in our part of the world, the heat under the hood destroys hoses and belts, and I won't say it destroys. It all but destroys. I don't see how they work, quite candidly. But anyway, my short answer, if I could ever come up with a short answer for Sandra, is to go to autobatteries.com, look under construction, and then you can go to CarQuest or Advanced Auto Parts and get an Agm battery that it has the power frame grid technology. And to that end, so that it's even easier, in addition to autobatteries.com, I recommend going to powerframe.com, because there were cabs. There's a fleet of taxi cabs in Las Vegas that tested the PowerFrame grid technology, because that is a lot of vibration, start, stop. Well, I don't know if they ever really turn those things off, but the bottom line, the underhood temperature will kill a battery, and Las Vegas is about as rough on a battery as it can get. And the bottom line is that the Johnson Controls frame, a PowerFrame grid, after 1 year or 15,000 miles in 2 years, as compared to a normal book mold, the lead in there, because the PowerFrame grid has sheets of aluminum that are stamped. So every grid is the perfect size. So those little electrons that jump from one to the other have a smoother path. And so the current flow is better. I mean, it makes sense. So I've often said that, Johnson Controls reinvented the battery. I don't know that people would give them credit for that in my industry. So I'm telling you, just from my experience, that's what's in my smart car, and that's what will be in my other car when it gets to be 6 to 7 years old. Let's go to California. Take David's call. David, sorry to be so long there. Thank you for your call. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
I was rebuilding my engine over a 6-month period, and we had drained the antifreeze into a heavy plastic container, and I put a lid on it.
Okay.
And then, do you think it's okay to use that antifreeze after 6 months? And because it looks perfectly clean now.
Two things have to be done. Well, yes, it depends on what the health of the antifreeze when you drained it out. Antifreeze, if you've got it in a container closed, it's not going to go sour or go bad or belly up or lose its additives. But here's what antifreeze does, and coolant. It will have a voltage effect. So you put it in a car, you check the voltage. You use a DC voltmeter and put the probe in the coolant and touch the ground, and you'll see if there's any voltage, and if it has more than 0.9 or then 0.1 rather, because my voltage in my Viper that I rarely drove when I kept it to 16 years, I changed the coolant every 2 years, and 1 year we're going to change it, and it looked beautiful. And then the main test, David, is a pH factor, and you check the level of the pH, and if that coolant is less than 9 and more than 6, then it fits any car, because you get below a 6 on a pH, it will attack the iron in the block. If you get above a 10, 9.5, a 10. It will etch the aluminum. I don't know about you, but from time to time we'll take a cap off of a radiator, and often, as a matter of fact, but from time to time we'll see like aluminum floating, and then seriously, that is the etching of the aluminum, and so coolant doesn't wear out, but the additive package does, and the pH factor goes away. So you'll have to, and here's the challenge with you checking the pH. You can go to a shop, and we all use pH strips. But the problem is, if you take the pH strip and you say, let me have a couple of those strips, they're in a little sealed container. When you take the pH strip out, it immediately absorbs the moisture out of the atmosphere. So it would contaminate the strip. So, and here's what I'd recommend, David. You haven't fired, you haven't put this back in the car, you haven't fired your engine, but you're in the process of doing that soon, right?
Right.
Well, you can't hurt that vehicle, even if the coolant was not 100%, even if it didn't meet the specs of a 7 to 9 or 8 on the pH scale. You couldn't hurt the engine in a short duration, so you feel free to use that because you don't want it in your garage anyway. So go ahead and use it over again. It's not like you're putting old oil in there with contaminants and unknowns, and you're not going to use the coolant if there are any chunks of debris in it from when you drained it or dirt or what have you. But I'd go ahead and certainly use it as a first batch. And then you run your engine, because after 500 miles or so, you're going to change the oil anyway. So at that time, you could change the coolant if the coolant didn't meet specs. And that would give you, that's a better answer, because it would give you the opportunity to drive by any automotive shop and check the pH of the coolant, which I know do you know folks in the automotive repair business there?
Oh, yeah, there's some people around town, and then there's an O'Reilly's nearby.
Yeah, okay, well, then I'm sure O'Reilly Auto Parts has a pH strip, because we buy them from them, but I mean, I don't know if they have a package that's open, but it's not a big deal. That's a better idea. Yeah, okay, so we got this solved. Use the old coolant, as long as it's true color and it's not milky or murky or any of those. You wouldn't save it if it had been, I'm sure. So use that, right, David, and then drive the vehicle, because you're going to put 500 miles and then change oil. What kind of vehicle is it, by the way?
a 92 Ford Ranger.
Oh, and what did you do to the engine?
Well, it was had some rod knock in it, so at school took and turned the crank and 10 over on it, and then cylinders were good, so honed them out, and then did a valve job on it.
Well, it's going to be interesting to. I'd like to see how that works. Have you already assembled the engine?
It's assembled. It's got assembly lube on everything on the inside, and a place nearby had a reground cam, and we put that in there, and then we haven't fired it up yet.
Okay. So on the camshaft, did you put new lifters on the cam?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's good. I'm just checking behind you there. Sounds like you did a good job, and of course you put a new water pump and all those things on it, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Okay. Well, now all you have to do is pass the test, and that's the acid test. So fire the engine. Congratulations on doing that, and do call me back after you've run this vehicle. I appreciate hearing from you, and see what the pH level was. I wouldn't worry about the voltage, because when you change coolant, which you probably will be doing later on, you'll get a fresh batch, and the pH factor will and the pH factor will be healthy, as will the voltage factor. That'll go away too. I don't know if you've ever squeezed a radiator hose and it looked good and it was soft on the outside but crunchy on the inside. That's what electrolysis does to the inside of a cooling system. It's really...
Yeah, I want to avoid that.
Oh, I'm telling you, and something else too before I let you go. It amazes me, and there I use that word again, it does amaze me, I guess, that the violent environment that water pumps work in. I mean, it's a pump. You say, well, it's a pump. But it's not like a little pump that pumps a little garden hose or a nice little pond, or even a pump in the ground of a well in a farm. A pump in a water pump has all of these factors to deal with: hot, cold, pressure, vacuum, and the seals. And so it amazes me, because you take a Toyota, you can run a Toyota 100,000 miles and never even worry about the pump, and yet my car at 6,000 miles, well, that was a recall. At 48,000 miles, 49,000, I had to have a water pump, but it was a poor design and a new design. But still, it's that when water pumps go out, they can really cause havoc. Hey, Dave, thanks for your call, and always love to hear from California.
Okay, is there time for one more quick question?
Sure.
Okay, how about, you had mentioned last week's show about keeping up with your power steering fluid. What's the best way to get it all out of that rack? Just crack the hose and drain it out by gravity, or what?
That's a serious issue. The best way, and being as you've got your car apart, the best way would be to disconnect the return hose that goes back to the reservoir. Put that into a large pan. Use an electric motor, a drill, or an impact. Not an impact, because it wouldn't turn smoothly. Use a drill motor that you can adjust the variable speed, and attach it to the pump. And you can do that because there's a nut on the pump. That won't be any problem. Make you a little adapter. Now, this is hard to do when a car is assembled, but you can do this because you don't have the radiator in the car, so you have plenty of room to put a drill there. And turn the pump 150 RPM or 100 RPM or whatever, and as you're turning the power steering pump, and the wheels have to be off the ground. You don't want to create pressure, you want to create flow. And so if there's no pressure on the wheels, then there's no pressure needed to push the rack left or right, other than 25, 30 pounds, not the 2,000. So what you do is you take the return hose going back to the reservoir, and it goes to a drain pan. You have someone helping and continuing to pour new power steering fluid in the reservoir, and you have another person, and this is easy, but it's a concerted effort, and then you turn the steering wheel all the way to the right and then all the way to the left, and all the way to the right until you get the fluid coming out of the rack that's the same color as what's pouring in. So you use a gallon of fluid. I will tell you this, and of course we have a special machine that has a deep stick and a short stick, and the deep stick goes into the reservoir and puts in fluid, while the other one, I say stick, it's like a straw, a hose, one goes in deeply into the power steering reservoir while the other is shallow, and that's how we exchange power steering fluid. But even then, it's not as thorough as what the way and the process I just described to you. But you can't do that on today's cars because it makes a mess and what have you, and you can't you can't use a starter to spin the, which we used to. You can't use a starter to spin the engine. But that's the way you could do it if you had and you wouldn't want to do that anyway. So does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I'll try that, and I've got the ready to go.
Okay. All right, my friend, thank you so much for your call. Always love to hear from California. Let us know how that works for you. And folks, that's all the time we have for this hour. However, another great hour coming up, and I have the same information that I didn't tell you, so be sure to come back. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And we want to welcome you back. This is our second hour. For those of you that may have just tuned in, many stations carry both hours and some only the first or second hour. We want to welcome you into the broadcast. Hannah will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic and put you in a queue. You know, why would you call? Well, if you have a question or a comment or an opinion on some of the topics that we're talking about. During the first hour, if you missed the first hour, we talked about safety, and we got into conversations about coolant and how to flush a power steering system, and that, which is one of the most forgotten parts of maintaining your car. I don't even know of many shops that really get into the changing of power steering fluid, but if your car has 50,000 miles on it, the power steering fluid is contaminated, it's cooked, it's baked, and it needs to be replaced. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning by our partners at the Car Care Council. And as you all know, it's back to school time, the perfect opportunity for you to make sure that your vehicle is kid safe and road ready. You can visit carcare.org for a number of fantastic tools, including tips and service schedules and videos and much more. Check it out, carcare.org. Carcare.org makes a lot of sense to me. Your calls, 888 Car Clinic, when I come back. Berryman Products is celebrating their 100th anniversary, providing innovative products to the automotive aftermarket, like Berryman Chem Dip Carburetor Parts Cleaner that helps remove gum, varnish, fuel residue, and other harmful deposits from carburetor parts and throttle bodies without heat, aeration, or agitation. Berryman Chem Dip Carburetor Parts Cleaner is safe to use with most plastic and metal carburetor and throttle body parts, including steel and aluminum alloys. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com.
What 100-year-old automotive company makes dozens of products to extend your vehicle's life and improve its performance?
Let me see.
Which company uses high-energy solvent technology, or HEST?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
What company introduced B12 Chem Tool over 40 years ago? Still the best fuel system cleaner on the market?
Oh, don't tell me it's
Berryman Automotive Products. Correct. Berryman Automotive Products has lubricants, cleaners, solvents, hundreds of solutions, and every product all American-made since 1918. You'll find Berryman Automotive Products at AutoZone, Pep Boys, and Walmart. Now, why would you buy anything else?
You sure ask a lot of questions.
We recently had an 03 Jeep Liberty in the shop with almost 90,000 miles. The vehicle was used primarily for short trips and losing coolant over a quarter week. With no external leaks, we knew it was an internal loss. Could have been a blown head gasket, as this is a common failure, or worse, could have been an internal crack. So here were the options. Tear the engine down and try to repair it, or find a less expensive alternative, like K-Seal. As you can probably imagine, the vehicle owner chose K-Seal, and it worked. Following directions on the can, we shook the container to mix the contents completely, added K-Seal to the radiator, making sure the vehicle was cool, and then had the owner resume normal everyday driving. We checked the vehicle 1 month later, and no coolant loss was found. What could have been a costly repair was instead a modest labor charge plus a bottle of K-Seal. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome to today's Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive Agm batteries, which are precision engineered to meet the electrical demands that we put on today's vehicles. You can learn more at autobatteries.com. We'll take a call from New York, and folks, again, we do have a really busy hour, so let's get started early on. 888-227-2546. Also, we're going to invite and have invited Rick Ruskin, the marketplace line of business leader from General Motors, to join us. So sometime this hour, we're going to have him on the phone, and some really interesting information and some questions that I have of him with regard to telematics. But in the meantime, and now, let's go to New York. John, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
Motorcycle safety.
No such thing.
Well, no, you're right there, yeah. And anytime somebody says I'm going to get a motorcycle, my first thing I say is they're dangerous.
Yes,
dangerous.
Yeah,
they're
not as dangerous as the cars around them. And to that end, just it's the shortest story I'll ever tell. My father never allowed me to own a motorcycle, and in that time I was able and not authorized, but okay with him, although I didn't have a driver's license to drive a vehicle when I was 13, because it had doors around it. But he says, motorcycle, you're never going to get. He died early on, and when I was 45, I bought my first motorcycle. I kept it 1 year, and I got rid of it. And the whole time I drove that bike, I was paranoid. I said, hey, that's just not for me. So I have admiration for those that can handle the pressure and handle the bike. But in the big scheme of things, it's an accident waiting to happen. Now I'll turn the mic to you.
Well, my comment was going to be, yeah, it could be the motorcyclist's fault, but I said it's the cars you have to really watch. I said I always assume they're going to pull out in front of you. Always watch for heads in the driver's seat, that a door is not going to all of a sudden open in front of you.
Oh my gosh. So many.
That saved me a lot of times, because there's people that somebody opens their car door, their driver's door into traffic, they swerve and they're in a head-on crash with a car coming in the other lane.
Wow.
So, anyways, I'm sorry, it chokes me up a little bit talking about it, but
that's okay. Take your time, sir.
No, a friend of mine, he didn't die, luckily, but we talked about it, and I said, if you ever get in a major problem where you dumped the motorcycle, I said, let go of it, because otherwise you got 400, 500, 600 pounds of mass dragging you along at whatever miles an hour you were going. I said, let go of it.
Wow.
And luckily, he listened to me, and we were on the same page. Because it's basic physics, as you know, the mass times the weight, the speed, and depending on where you hit. If you hit a concrete barrier, that's one thing. If you hit a wooden fence, that's obviously a different impact and all that. Well, anyways, he dumped the motorcycle, luckily, into a median, grassy median. And I'm sorry. And if he hadn't let go of it, that motorcycle flew across 3 lanes and smashed into a concrete barrier.
Oh, my God.
Now, that's the whole thing about. If he held on to that motorcycle, was 400 or 500 pounds, he's 200 pounds, there's 600 pounds moving along.
Right.
On its side, it would have ripped his leg to the bone, I'm sure.
Wow.
And then hitting the concrete barrier, you know.
Well, it's John. I'm glad that your friend is still with you. I presume that he's still with you from But I will say this: we had a call last hour from a gentleman that said, "I need you to help settle something," or two experts that say that the Subaru and a Chevrolet Impala, which one would survive the head-on crash, and they both were rated 5-star. And my answer was depends on the weight, and he said he'd call me back with the weight differential. But I cited during our conversation, I cited the fact that Indy cars and rear engine dragsters, top fuelers, when and if they crash, they're reduced to a lighter mass because the engine assembly will separate and go away, and in the Indy cars, the monocoque tub protects the driver, and that 1,600-pound mass is reduced to like 350 pounds, which has less impact than the 1,600-pound total car. So your story it fits directly into the point that I hope that I made, and I really appreciate you sharing that with me and with our Car Connect audiences today, and I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Texas and talk with Kevin. Kevin, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Connect. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Bobby, I told you I'd call back about this issue.
Okay. Remind everyone of the issue, and then we'll go from there.
Well, it's a 1998 Chevrolet Lumina.
Okay.
3.1 V6. It's got the plastic intake, of course. Which I never understood that, but anyway. I'm getting water in the oil. Now, I've got no steam coming out the tailpipes.
Mm-hmm.
Good oil pressure. Car, I changed the thermostat out because the thermostat was trying to stick. But I found an intake leak, and it's got an upper and lower intake gasket set, and I've been told you got to remove the push rods to put in that intake gasket set. Is that true?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't have that. I don't use any kind of prompter, so I don't know. And I've never replaced the lower intake gasket. But if the lower part of the intake is part of the cylinder head where the push rods go through, I mean, do you have like a motor's manual or any kind of a?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you gotta get that.
Data, which I'm going to work on that Monday. But I was wondering that. I know K-Seal stops water leaks. Is there anything that stops? I mean, I'm getting antifreeze in the oil. Would K-Seal work on this?
No. I don't see how it could, because you don't have I mean, K-Seal is a ceramic-based product that's designed to sense and change its physical characteristics from a liquid to a solid with extreme temperature. So if you got a combustion chamber that's that a head gasket that's leaking, the pressure from the cylinder goes into the water chamber. That's why it overheats, because it blows combustion. Instead of pushing the piston down, some of that goes into the water and boils the water right there, and it overheats the water. Then when you turn the car off or you drive it more slowly and let it idle, you don't have as much pressure, and so that coolant that has the K-Seal in it finds that spot and solidifies, and it's a permanent seal. But as I understand the physical and chemical makeup of stop leaks, the stop leak cannot see the temperature differential required to solidify with an internal cooling system, which could be a block crack into an oil system. That's my belief, and I could be corrected by an engineer, but I just don't think. I think what you need to do is you could have a simple lower intake gasket leak, but you got to fix that. So I would say take the engine apart. That's what my advice would be.
Okay. Well, I just kept hearing you talk about K-Seal and the wonders it works, and I just was curious because I've got people getting into the oil.
Right. I hear you.
I was a friend of mine that actually used K-Seal on a car that had a head gasket problem.
Right.
Man, he's driving it. Been driving it for a year.
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
I'm not trying to cheat this fix. I'm a little bit limited on funds. I put all that money in my son's Escort VX2, so I'm a little bit low on funds. I'm having to build my funds back up.
Well, I hear you.
The worst part about it is the air conditioner in the car I drive every day quit, and this car that I'm talking about got a brand new everything on the air conditioner, $1,100.
Wow. Hey, man, I feel your pain. Got a heartbreak coming up. Kevin, thanks for calling, folks. Don't go away. This Engine Care Spotlight is brought to you by Walker Products, a leading manufacturer of quality fuel system components and engine sensors. Today's vehicles are being pushed to new heights with increased fuel economy and fewer tailpipe emissions, which has created the need for a smarter and more sophisticated exhaust after-treatment system, featuring an array of sensors designed to help monitor and control the different aspects of vehicle operation and health. The EGT, or exhaust gas temperature sensor, plays a major role in multiple processes, and it's critical that the EGT is performing within their limits. But not all EGT sensors are created equal. Housing styles and materials vary, in addition to resistance types and temperature ratings. It's imperative that a consumer replace their EGT sensor with a correct OEM factory-style sensor. Walker Products has been supplying the automotive aftermarket since 1946 and manufactures all of its EGTs using only OEM-based sensors. Need a new sensor? Walker Products offers OE quality at aftermarket prices. Drive to walkerproducts.com. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for PowerTech. Jim explained how other aftermarket accessories can integrate with performance programmers and monitors.
While traditionally known for adding horsepower and torque, the Super Chips line of product can also accommodate additional changes that you may make to your vehicle, including aftermarket tires and wheels to correct your speedometer, gear ratio changes for aftermarket gears, or even things like integrating with our on-dash display to activate your LED aftermarket lighting through our EAS power switch. We make the process seamless and easy and allow you to expand with additional accessories and use the Super Chips product to keep things in check.
And now, through June 30th, you can take advantage of a $50 rebate on all flashback tuners from Super Chips. Find your perfect tune at superchips.com. That's superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'll take your car questions at 888 Car Clinic, but first, on the hotline with us now is Rick Ruskin, Marketplace Line of Business Leader with General Motors. Rick's here today to bring us the latest update to Marketplace, the industry's first in-vehicle commerce platform. Rick, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hi, Bobby. Good to be back. I think the last time we spoke was the Chicago Auto Show, and we've got some brand new stuff happening with Marketplace, so glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you in the house, and I'll tell you, you travel a lot. Before we get into the latest partnership announcement, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers information about GM's Marketplace platform, and what is it and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, last December, we rolled out with an industry first of its kind commerce platform right on the dashboard, the infotainment touchscreen of 2017 and forward Chevys, Buicks, GMCs, and Cadillacs. And it's a terrific platform. I mean, it takes the connected car to the next level, allowing customers, drivers to actually interact and transact with their favorite brands and merchants, from fuel to food to parking and even hotels. And you can order your cup of coffee in the morning. You could stop at a fuel station and fuel up, and we'll talk about some of those new features that we just announced.
I understand that you're rolling out a partnership with ExxonMobil that allows simple payments at the pump, right at the car's dash. Share with our Car Connect listeners and viewers how that exactly works. You pull up to a pump and...
You pull up to a pump, and you, through our marketplace platform, you would open up the ExxonMobil sort of, I'll call it an app within Marketplace, and it's terrific. It knows what station you're at, of course, because the car, GPS knows exactly where your car is. You put in your pump number just by the tap of the dash. You've already loaded your payment method. If you've got multiple payment methods, let's say you had business and personal, you could select that payment method. But if you only have one payment method, I literally go from putting in my pump number to confirm on the dashboard, and it activates the fuel pump through the cloud right next to me. I can see, the process happening, on the pump. And you get out and you select your grade, you lift the nozzle, you fuel up, and it's just that convenient. So, whether it's a hot day in the summer, a freezing cold day in the winter, I mean, I get to do this stuff from the convenience of my vehicle. There's the safe and secure payment methods that we've got in place, so no swiping your credit cards, which I know people have concerns over, and there's all sorts of new value that we're bringing with this.
So, Rick, will drivers be able to use the ExxonMobil station app nationwide?
They will, absolutely. So, ExxonMobil have launched, or they've had their Speed Pass Plus app out in the market. We actually bring that technology onto the dashboard, and it works at somewhere between 10,500 and 11,000 Exxon and Mobil stations nationwide. So it's definitely rolled out.
We're talking with Rick Ruskin, Marketplace Line Business Leader with General Motors. So, Rick, what other types of retailers can GM drivers currently do business with via the Marketplace app?
Well, our real focus is on what is drive related, what's going to be of interest to and value to our drivers. So I talked about fuel. Let's talk about food. We have a relationship with Dunkin' Donuts. We have relationships with Applebee's and IHOP. So, again, you can get in your car in the morning, open up your Dunkin' Donuts app. You've already got an established relationship with Dunkin', so your favorites and your recents, the coffees that you drink, are there on the dash. And, again, with the tap of the dash, you've ordered, you pay, and your coffee is going to be hot and ready when you get to the Dunkin' store. We have parking right now. It's more of a find aspect of parking, but we're going to be moving over into payment and transaction there. And then we even have a relationship with Priceline.com around booking hotels, and the people who are road warriors or traveling from one city to another that need a hotel can now find it and easily book as well.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have, as you were explaining how the Marketplace app works, I was thinking of drive-through fast food. Would that be out of the norm, or can you say if that's in the queue?
Well, so clearly, yeah, as we build our ecosystem, as we bring on more merchants and partners, food, think of all those meals that you eat sitting behind the wheel of your car. Absolutely. We're continuing to talk. We have a relationship with McDonald's. Right now, it doesn't have the ordering functionality that McDonald's has implemented through some of their mobile app capabilities. But, again, we look to continue to grow our ecosystem with merchants and new features all the time. So you're going to see more and more of it coming.
So, Rick, just a couple of last questions. Again, if you would recap the vehicles that are currently on the Marketplace or in dealership showrooms that have the Marketplace app.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So this goes back to model year 17, and because we, all those cars are connected, we do an over-the-air update. You don't have to do anything. It shows up. It's across our makes and models, so you'll find it in Chevy, Buick, GMC, and Cadillacs. The thing is, for the most part, you're going to find it in what I'll call the mid to higher level trims. Mm-hmm. So it's not in every car, but when we rolled out the end of 2017, we had about 2 million eligible vehicles, and by the end of this calendar year, we'll have about 4 million eligible vehicles.
Well, that's fantastic. One last question. Is there a website that's specific to this app, or is it gm.com? Where can our Car Clinic listeners and viewers go to see the details and even to download the app?
Yeah, well, so again, remember, just real quick, you don't have to download the app. We're going to push that out to the eligible vehicles. You'll find it there. All you have to do is accept the terms and conditions. But to find out more information, we talked about, actually, it was Buick that made the first announcement with the Exxon Mobil capability. On the Buick.com website, you can actually find out information about Marketplace, and our other vehicle brand websites are starting to build the messaging as well.
Way cool, and a sign and of the technology available today from General Motors. Rick Ruskin, Marketplace Line Business Leader. Rick, great to have you back in the house again at Car Clinic. Take care and come back to see us.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Appreciate all your support.
How cool is that? Now think about that. You have the Buick or the GMC Cadillac or the Chevy, and you have the app, and you've already put your credit card information, and you literally just put your order in, you pay for it, and you pull up, and I find that to be not only unbelievable, but currently our team uses a McDonald's app, and we'll buy lunch for the crew, or buy our own lunch, and you drive up, and there are 3 particular places, and they bring the food out. So there's a lot to be said for that, and I like the fact that you can pay for your gas without having to put the card in. I did have one card. It's the only time it's ever happened to me. I did have one card that was compromised, and it had to be from a gas station, because that was that particular card was the only place I'd use that, and it was a new steel card that I'd gotten, and I got a note at 4 o'clock in the morning from Amex, and then I made the call when I got up. Of course, I saw the warning, and there was a $25 charge at some business, some gas station, I think it was in Texas, and that's a long way from yours truly. Let's go to Darrell, who's waited patiently. Good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes, good morning, Bobby. Appreciate your show.
Thank you. What can I do for you?
Well, I have a 2015 Passat. I have a VW Passat, having trouble with the air conditioning not working from time to time.
Well, from time to time, explain. In other words, does it, if you fired it up cold, normal temperature from your house after sitting overnight, and drove it 15, 20 miles, would it always work when it's cold, when it's first turned on?
No, it kind of varies. There are times that it works fine when I first start it up, and then other times I go down the road maybe 10, 15 miles, and then it'll start working. I've tried something differently recently, and it seems like it works most of the time. Is rather than turning the fan off, which also turns the AC light off, I've been turning the AC button off, and then turning the fan off and restarting it. And most of the time it's been working that way, but not every time.
Well, let me ask, to that end, why do you turn the fan off if you turn, the button is the air conditioner compressor. So what I would, I would have done exactly what you did, except for one change. I would have left the fan running, because if we had a situation to where the system was low on refrigerant and it was freezing up, then the fact that you turned off the compressor and then waited 3 minutes, it wouldn't take but about 2 minutes. Wouldn't even take 3 minutes. Probably a minute of air blowing through the coil, and it would thaw out the coil, and then you click the button back on. That's what I recommend that you try, because when you turn, and here's why, when you turn the button off altogether, the fan, the air conditioning system off altogether, you are reloading, because everything's controlled by the body control module, Darrell. Those buttons on the dash, all they do is they send requests and voltages to the body control module, and the body control module connects to the car at large, and says, okay, compressor, kick in, okay, blower, kick in, and depending on the temperature, it says, okay, blower, half speed. So what I'd like for you to do doesn't prove that the body control module is okay, but what I'd like for you to do is leave the system engaged, but disconnect the compressor. And the way that you're allowed to do that manually at the dash is by the compressor button. You got it?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, try that. And then if that always works, then the next stage or the next thing to do is for a service shop to run a operating pressure test. And if the pressures are, if the low pressure starts going down below, let's say the spec was 22 psi, and it went down to 18 psi, then it would prove that it's low on coolant, or it had some blockage or whatever, but that would give you a next step. Hey, thank you for calling, and thank you for...
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
So we have Ellie, but we're going to wait till we come back from the break that's coming up. Pardon me. Actually, I'm having a cup of coffee here, which is the third cup of coffee I made this morning because the first two are so bad. Fabio, you got to make the coffee from those. You know, I can't even make good coffee. So, folks, when I come back, we're going to take Ellie's call and yours at 888 Car Clinic.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question, and we're going to go to Ellie next. If you have a car question or just want to share a comment, 888 Car Clinic is the number. It's 888-227-2546. I do have a question here. Actually, we'll take Ellie's call. Let's take Ellie's call because you waited for some time. So, Fabio, put Ellie on the air. And Ellie, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hello, Bobby.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Hey, I accidentally hung up the phone. I had to call back. Hey,
yeah, those,
hey, listen,
those phones are really
I've
technical to deal with, I know.
Yeah, well, I had it on speaker, and I was trying to get it off speaker, and I accidentally hung it up.
There you go.
Listen, I've got an 03 Lincoln Town car.
Right.
I bought used about 21,000 miles ago, and it's been great, been running great. Ever since I bought it, the air suspension light has been on. The previous owner told me he had it checked out, and they told him they couldn't find a problem. And I'm just curious, is there maintenance on air suspension, or do they have to replace the airbags? I don't notice any bad ride. I mean, I'm just curious. As time goes by, I think, man, maybe I better get this checked out. You know.
Well, when you do take it into a shop, make sure you share your story, because here's what's been happening. There's obviously a sensor that has picked up some issue within the system. The good news is that the light is there to tell you there's a problem. The bad news is there has to be, or not, doesn't have to be, my suggestion and my belief is that you do have a bag that's leaking and the pump is running, and so while you could replace and or one or two airbags, you'd want to do them in pairs, front or rear, or front and rear. You'd replace the bag. The real challenge is that you're running that vehicle and that pump is running and running and running, and an air pump, just think of it's the same thing, except it's a little it's automotive design, but we've all had those jump batteries with the air pump in them. I've got one at home, and it says clearly, do not allow this pump, if you're airing your tires, to run longer than 10 minutes. And if you've ever seen one of those little compressors, it looks like a little toy motorcycle engine, air-cooled pump, noisy and aggravating and what have you. And it seems like, of course it is true, the bigger the tire, the longer it takes for that pump to forever and pump up the tire. And that destroys that little pump, because it has a little filter, and it has what's called permanent oil, but there's no oil reservoir in those pumps, and so they literally will self-destruct. And that's what's my concern for you is you've got a system that needs one or two bags or maybe 4 bags, but if you add the cost of a pump in there, you're looking at a couple $1,000. It could be. So when you go into a service shop, if and of course, we use scan tools that can read that system. Doesn't mean you can find the leak. We've had some vehicles that leaked so slightly that you didn't know where it was, and then finally the bag would go. You have 2 options, and here's the root of my advice, Ellie. You can spend a lot of money to replace the system altogether, which you may be forced to do, or you can convert that vehicle to springs, because there are aftermarket companies that specialize in that converting air ride over to springs, and we've done that with a Lexus, We've done that with several Jaguars and a couple of Mercedes, and the results that we have always been 100%. However, having said that, I prefer the air suspension over a coil suspension. I have both on my car. I have a coil on the front, and I have the air on the rear that adjusts the height of the vehicle. But I think it has springs as well. I think the airbags are just there to help it levelize. You can literally sit in the back of my car without the key on and wait, and in 10 seconds you'll hear this bzzz, and you'll see the car come back up and offset my 175 pounds. Having said that, I would suggest that you take it into a service shop, have them inspect it to find out why that light is on, and then if you're faced with ultimate doom, which is the replacing everything, ask what the cost would be if you're going to keep the car to convert it to a spring suspension. And there are a couple of, and I forget the name of the company now, but there's one that we use that is so familiar, but you could go online and check it out. Anyway, I hope that helps.
All right, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank
you. Appreciate you. We'll take a call from Rachel in Missouri. Rachel, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you. I have an issue with the Lincoln myself.
Oh, really? Well, it's his was an 03 model, and you know he's going to be faced with replacing some hard parts sooner than later. Yours is an 09 MKS. How
Yes.
may I help you?
Well, we bought this car several months ago. Used it had something like 30,000 miles on it. It's beautiful. We like it, but it's so hard to steer. It's hard to park. It's hard to turn. And I was wondering if there's something we could go in and have adjusted to help take care of that.
Well, funny you should say that, because the short answer is no.
Oh, okay.
But here's the pump that the engine runs creates hydraulic pressure. Just like you see those garbage trucks that lift the garbage cans and all that forced pressure. That's the same methodology. It's just a pump creates hydraulic pressure. The pressure goes to a hose, and the hose supplies assistance to your turn. And therein lies the adjustable part, but it's not adjustable from a standpoint of after the car is made. The car itself has a sensor, and that sensor says, okay, Rachel is driving 50 miles an hour or going over 30 miles an hour. She doesn't need a lot of assistance because there's not a resistance on turning the wheels. Well, we all know that. So, so the system then bypasses the pressure, and that pump just circulates back and forth and around. It pushes it out and brings it back in. So it really doesn't do a lot except rotate and circulate the pressure in the fluid. However, when you stop to park, that's when you need help, because there's a lot of resistance on those tires. Plus, you've got your foot on the brake. So when a tire turns, it has to rotate when you turn it. So the brakes even aggravate parking. But of course, you got to have your foot on the brake for obvious reasons. So that's when the power steering pump's sensor increases the pressure. It is possible, but not likely. It is possible that the pressure sensor of your Lincoln is defective, and the pressure is staying the same at 30 miles per hour that it is at 30 with low pressure when you stop. So what needs to be done is there are tests that can be performed by a service shop. And do you have a service shop, or do you have a dealer that you frequent?
We do. Okay.
Then here's what I would, if it were my car, here's what I would do. I would connect my professional scan tool. I would look for any power steering related or chassis related trouble codes. Even though the check engine light may not be on, there could be codes in the system that are recorded and saved that have to do with your issue. That's the first thing to do before you ever touch anything. You know, you want you know, you don't start an overhaul. You don't have, if you have a pain in the chest, you don't say, okay, it's time for open heart surgery. You say, well, wait a minute, let's do a stress test here. You get my point?
I do.
So you don't want anybody, you do not want to spend any money on repairs until proper tests are performed, because your car could be normal and you could spend whatever monies and still have the same issue. And so for you to get from where you are to where you'd like to be, which means more pressure to make it easier to steer at no speeds, at zero speeds, at parking speeds. And that's what the system's designed to do. So two things that make it real simple for you.
Okay.
When you go to the dealer or your technician, explain that you would like them to run a pressure test on the power steering at highway speeds and parking speeds, because it's a bear to park and it's hard to turn, and you want to know if the pump is producing pressure while the vehicle is stopped. I don't mean the engine stopped, the car is stopped. So so that way your connection with the service tech will be exactly right on. And then there's another idea that I have. If you're frequent a dealer, drive another car just like yours. Now, it doesn't have to be an 09, it could be a 13. But
gotcha.
It could be you see where I'm going here?
I do.
So you drive another car because, you know, I'm sure there are folks out there, and folks, this is a 09 Lincoln MKS. So if you're driving one and you have this same issue, it may be some idiosyncrasy of the car, but, you know, let's face it, it's a state-of-the-art automobile. You shouldn't have no problem turning the steering wheel to park. My car steers very well at highway speeds, and it is easy to park, and it's a long wheelbase car, but I can zip it into places that even surprise me using the alarm system that I have, you know, the front and rear sensors, so I know how close to back up and those sorts of things. But anyway, I hope that helps, and you should not be able or be forced to live with that situation. But if it
Well, we had a Lincoln before this, and it was so easy to park. I taught people how to parallel park.
Exactly. I mean, you know, that's and let's face it, the technology on the car you had before was not as updated and state-of-the-art as the technology. If you had a younger car, everything about that car was not as technically advanced as the car you have now.
Right.
In fact, for that reason, that's why I want a new car, because mine's a 13, and I want everything I can get in a new car. Okay. Rachel, thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's a little telling there, but it's true. I just, you know, just like Rick Ruskin from GM earlier talked about the app on the dash. That's the only thing I don't like about my car. I wish I could jailbreak the center stack. And which means I wish I could jailbreak the architecture of the entertainment system and the phone calling and what have you. My car is so antiquated in that, you know, you push a button and it goes beep, and I say dial number, and you have to wait 2 seconds, beep, number, please, and then you give the number, and then you have to wait. You said whatever the number, and then you have to say yes, and then it comes back and says continue or not. And if you say continue, it will go into a atmosphere of deer in the headlights. You can't say continue, you have to say dial. So it took me about 2 months to learn that. And I do read the owner's manual. So I have a question here from our Watch Bobby Live. And for all of you in the Watch Bobby Live room, tell your friends and invite them to participate in the program, because every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you not only on our Car Clinic affiliates across the nation, but also on our YouTube website at watchbobbylive.com, Watch Bobby Live. So here's a question from Glenn Patton that's in our chat room at Watch Bobby Live. What is Bobby's suggestion for an oil additive for cold, dry startups? Synthetic oil would be my suggestion. Synthetic oil has the additives that are added and superior to the makeup of the oil is superior to conventional oils, because synthetic oil, even the base before the additive package is added, the base stock of synthetic oil, all synthetics, has same size molecules. So the flow rate and the speed of the flow and how it shimmies through the tiny tolerances of today's tight engines of synthetic oil is far superior to the standard oil. In fact, I'm reminded of AMSOIL, the history. There was a jet fighter squadron commander, Lieutenant Colonel Albert J. Amatuzio, and he had an opportunity to witness the synthetic lubricants in actions and their oils that were used exclusively in jet engines because of their extraordinary ability to reduce friction and those sorts of things. He said, hey, this would work in engines. And that's where AMSOIL came from, because Lieutenant Colonel Albert J. Amatuzio said, if this is good for aircraft, it ought to be great for cars. So the answer to my question to Glenn is to use a synthetic oil that already has that additive package versus trying to add your own package. And also there's more to that, and I don't want to get into the oil additive, but next week I will tell you about booster shot. So just remember that, everyone, remember booster shot, because that is indeed the addition of an oil additive that speaks directly to Glenn's question. When using conventional oil, I call it a poor man's synthetic. You can have the cake and eat it too. So tune in next week and I'll share that story with you. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or high energy solvent technology. Helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Gary's Mercury Sable was just running awful and throwing trouble codes. A local technician said it might cost as much as $600. So first, Gary tried Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel Additive, and now it runs like new with no trouble codes. Learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain, grown